Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We've got something incredibly fascinating to dig into today. We are looking at a massive, frankly unprecedented shift happening right now in the AI development stack. It's a real clash of the titans, two heavyweight programming languages fighting for dominance over how we actually build artificial intelligence. For years, there's been one undisputed champion in this space, but the ground is literally shifting beneath our feet. We're going to break down some fantastic data and insights from developer Roberto Staggi to figure out exactly how this paradigm is changing, why it's happening so fast, and what it all means for the future of building apps.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this right here is the core mystery we need to solve today. If you've been anywhere near AI development over the last few years, you know for a fact that Python has been the unquestioned king. Basically, if you were building an AI, you were using Python. Every other language kind of just bowed down to it in the machine learning world. But the latest GitHub data is showing a completely different language sitting on the throne. So how on earth does an industry standard get toppled that quickly? Well, to understand this flip, we have to trace things back just a few years. Pre-2022, Python comfortably, and I mean comfortably, ruled the AI infrastructure layer. Then, 2022 hits, ChatGPT comes out, and AI suddenly gets way more ambitious, right? It totally broke out of its research bubble. And because Python was already the standard, its usage just exploded right alongside this boom. By 2024, Python officially climbed the ladder to become the #1 most popular language on GitHub. The community was thrilled. But actually, that victory lap was super short-lived. Literally, just 1 year later, in August 2025, TypeScript shocked everyone by passing Python to claim that absolute #1 spot. The exact same GitHub report that celebrated Python in 2024 suddenly had to declare TypeScript as the new leader in 2025. And the sheer scale of this transition is perfectly captured by this one, honestly staggering statistic. In 2025, one new developer was joining GitHub every single second. Think about that. That is a massive global influx of builders. But here's the catch. Unlike the folks in 2024 who were grabbing Python to build AI, this new massive wave of developers in 2025 was reaching specifically for TypeScript. But why? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we have to look at where AI actually lives in a modern software stack today. See, the domains of these two languages have become starkly distinct. AI has rapidly moved up the stack. What I mean by that is it's shifted from pure infrastructure, the deep, complex layers of machine learning, right up to the application layer. AI isn't just something you train in a lab anymore. It's something you embed and ship inside actual applications. We're building apps that can think. Now, don't get me wrong, Python is still absolutely vital. It completely owns training, research, GPU serving. Basically, Python is the brain. But the application layer, the user interface, the backend, and crucially, the agentic layer where these tools actually take action, that entire domain now belongs to TypeScript. So, knowing that the application layer is the new main battleground, it brings us to a really specific question. What exactly was the catalyst? What in the world changed in that tiny 12-month window between 2024 and 2025 to make developers shift gears so aggressively? The answer? The explosive rise of coding agents. We're talking about tools like Cursor, Lovable, and Claude Code. These things grew up fast. They went from being cool little experimental tools to the absolute default way developers build modern applications. And here is the vital piece of the puzzle, the thing that makes it all click. The default output language that these AI coding agents write in is TypeScript. Since almost every new app today is shipping with AI and agentic capabilities, they are just hungry for integrations. And the demand to build those intelligent features doesn't fall onto Python. It falls squarely onto TypeScript, simply because that's the language these AI assistants are most optimized to generate. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown from Roberto Staggi is that he outlines 5 concrete, highly technical advantages for why building AI agents in TypeScript isn't just some passing fad. It's actually a vastly superior architectural choice right now. It's not just about popularity, it's about what actually works best. And yeah, it's a bit ironic. A whole generation of Python diehards are suddenly finding themselves having to pick up TypeScript. But let's step through each of these 5 strategic advantages to see exactly why TypeScript is completely dominating the application layer. First up is this incredibly powerful feedback loop. Because TypeScript is the default language for today's coding agents, we're seeing this massive explosion of new TypeScript applications being built, right? So what does that mean? It means there is an ever-growing mountain of high-quality TypeScript code out there, which then becomes the training data for the next generation of coding agents. It's like a snowball effect. More TypeScript apps lead to smarter agents.
which in turn generate even better, more native TypeScript integrations. Basically, if you want the absolute highest quality output from an AI assistant today, you get it by working in TypeScript.
Reason number 2 is the ecosystem. Since AI is now fundamentally an application feature, your AI agent doesn't just need to think, it needs to actually do stuff in the real world. It has to authenticate users, process payments, talk to user interfaces, and maybe occasionally break things in production. By building in TypeScript, you get to tap directly into NPM, which is arguably the deepest, richer package manager in existence. The whole shebang, everything you need to connect an AI to the real world, is just sitting right there, ready to be integrated natively. And this brilliantly illustrates a massive pain point in development: reducing friction. Think about it. If you build your app using Python for the AI stuff, you are forced to split your code base. You end up with one service running Fast API on the back end and a totally separate application like React for the front end. You have to constantly maintain and sync up this complex contract between the two. It's a headache. But with TypeScript, you get one single unified codebase. Your agent loop, your tools, your backend, your UI, all written in one language. The development speed you gain from removing that boundary is just immense. Building directly on that unified codebase brings us to the fourth advantage: end-to-end typing. In a split Python and JavaScript setup, your strong typing stops dead at the boundary between the two. You've got one set of types for the backend, another for the front end. But in a pure TypeScript ecosystem, you can use a tool like Zod to define a single schema type exactly one time. Then you use that exact same type in your backend, in your AI model's structured output, and straight into your UI. It's one perfectly consistent, type-checked flow from start to finish, which dramatically cuts down on bugs and sync issues. The fifth and final advantage is simply the sheer unstoppable momentum of the ecosystem. The infrastructure supporting AI and TypeScript is maturing at a breakneck pace. I mean, look at this. In just 1 year, weekly downloads for the Vercel AI SDK surged from 1.6 million to a staggering 15.1 million. That is practically a 10x explosion in adoption. We even saw a major AI lab, Anthropic, recently acquire the JavaScript runtime Bun. The entire industry is aggressively pivoting their tools to support this TypeScript agentic layer. So, the crucial point is, was all of this unpredictable? Actually, no. To understand why, we can look back nearly 20 years to a famous, honestly prophetic rule by Jeff Atwood, known as Atwood's Law. It's kind of like uncovering a hidden truth that was staring us in the face the whole time. He said, any application that can be written in JavaScript will eventually be written in JavaScript. And it's a rule that is held remarkably true across web, mobile, and even back-end servers. And today, we are watching the modern evolution of that prophecy play out, the TypeScript corollary. The rule now dictates that any application that can be written in TypeScript, yes, even complex, agentic AI applications, will eventually be written in TypeScript. And we are just at the very beginning of this curve. If you project this out over the next few years, the gap between TypeScript and Python at the application layer isn't going to shrink, it's going to widen significantly. So how do we resolve this clash of the titans? Well, the reality is, Python isn't going anywhere. It will absolutely remain the bedrock for inference, model training, and all that heavy data lifting. But the ideal modern AI developer stack has structurally changed. It's now a two-step process. Step 1, you train the model and handle the heavy inference in Python. Step 2, you build the agent, the layer that actually calls the model and interacts with the user, and you ship it on NPM using TypeScript. You're basically separating the brain from the hands. Which leaves us with a critical choice as builders and learners. The agentic layer of software is expanding faster than literally anything we've ever seen before. The tools, the coding assistants, the rich package ecosystems, they are all centralizing right around TypeScript for application building. So the question you have to ask yourself today is this. As this massive paradigm shifts, will you adapt your stock to embrace the TypeScript ecosystem, or do you risk falling behind the curve? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this breakdown helps you navigate the exciting, ever-changing landscape of AI development. Catch you next time.